I want to start today with a specific feeling, a feeling that I think plagues almost everyone listening, even if we don't really have a name for it.
Right.
You know one. You're sitting to dinner with your family, food's great, people you love are right there. But in your head,
You're somewhere else.
completely, you're replaying a meeting from hours ago. Or maybe you're on the floor with your kid building something, but your brain is just, it's calculating how many minutes are left until bedtime.
It's the defining condition of the modern era, really. The source material we're covering today actually calls it the poverty of being somewhere else.
That phrase just hit me so hard. The poverty of being somewhere else. It's like
Uh-huh.
your body is in one place, but your mind has totally checked out. You're basically ghosting your own life.
And that disconnect is precisely what we're going to unpack. We have this really fascinating collection of writings. It's called The Architecture of Presence and the Art of Practice.
It pulls from every corner, too. Aristotle, Eleanor Roosevelt, pro-golfers.
Exactly. It's a huge synthesis. And the central diagnosis is, well, it's pretty stark. Our modern disease is absence. We are constantly arriving somewhere else in our minds.
Which sounds exhausting just hearing it. But the text doesn't just, point out the problem. It offers a cure.
It does. The diagnosis is absence, but the cure is presence. And the key insight here is that presence isn't a mood. It's not a vibe you catch. It's a discipline, a skill you have to build.
There's a parable in the source material from Anthony DeMello that I think just sets the stage perfectly.
Oh, the one about enlightenment? Yeah.
A student asks master, "Where should I look for enlightenment?" And the master just says, "Here."
So simple. Then the student asks, when will it happen?
And the master says, "Now." But of course, the student is just confused. He says, "Well, why don't I experience it?"
And here's the punchline.
Right. The master says, "Because you do not look. To look, you must be here.
Er?
You are mostly somewhere else."
You are mostly somewhere else. That's the whole thing in a nutshell. So today, that's our deep dive. What does it actually mean to be here?
We're going to look at the physiology of it, right? Like in sports, even in sleep.
Yep. And the famous 10,000 hours rule and how to practice so it actually works. And maybe most importantly, we're going to talk about the enemies of presence, the things that steal our focus and how to stop them.
Okay, so let's get into it. The source uses this incredible analogy from soccer to explain this absence. It talks about the ghost wearing a jersey.
It's a brilliant image. It's so tactile. You can just picture it. A soccer player's on the field, the game's happening. But this player's thinking about a bad pass they made 5 minutes ago.
Or maybe they're worried about what the coach is writing on his clipboard.
Exactly. So physically, they're on the field. They're wearing the jersey. But mentally,
Gone. A ghost.
just a ghost wearing a jersey. And the text says to actually play the game, or really to do anything well, your mind has to be exactly where your feet are.
The mind has to be exactly where the feet are. I love that, but it's easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
The source breaks this down into something it calls the awareness hierarchy.
Right. It's about tactical presence. It's not just pay attention. It's specific. For soccer, the hierarchy is 1, the ball, 2, your teammates, and 3, the opponent.
In that order.
Always in that order. It's a disciplined returning of the mind to the now. They even give a mantra for it. Pass, move, get it back.
It sounds like a basic drill, but you're saying it's
determined.
a philosophy.
It absolutely is a philosophy of engagement. Think about it. Pass, move, get it back.
Yeah.
You have to be completely locked into the flow of that moment. You can't be thinking about the score or your ego or the crowd.
If you are, you break the chain.
Yeah,
You become the ghost.
you break the chain. But here's the thing that really got me, and where I think most of us fail before we even start.
What's that?
You need a biological foundation. And the source says it's the one thing we all sacrifice first: sleep.
It makes a massive claim about sleep. It calls quality sleep the single greatest factor in long-term happiness.
The single greatest factor. Not money, not your career, sleep.
That's huge.
But it makes sense physiologically, doesn't it? You
Yeah.
can't force a tired brain to be present. Your prefrontal cortex, the part that regulates focus, it literally goes offline when you're sleep deprived.
So before you can even practice, your body has to be restored.
It's non-negotiable. And there's this tiny physical cue mentioned in the text that I think is so useful. It just says, for best results, exhale deeply.
Just an exhale. That seems almost too simple.
It's about your autonomic nervous system. That deep exhale is a biological signal to your body. It says, I'm here, I'm in my body, I'm safe. Most of us run around holding our breath,
Yeah, that shallow chest breathing.
which keeps us in a state of fight or flight. So you have to ground yourself biologically before you can perform psychologically.
Okay, so foundation is sleep. and literally just breathing. Now we get to the practice part. But the source makes an interesting detour. Before you practice, you have to know what you're practicing for. It quotes Robert Louis Stevenson,
To know what you like is the beginning of wisdom and old age.
which sounds so easy, but it's not. It's incredibly difficult.
It is, because we all know what we should like, what looks good on a resume, what our parents wanted for us. But what you actually like, that takes deep work.
And the text connects this straight to parenting, quoting someone named Aaron Stupple. He says parents should be preservers of interest, not gatekeepers.
I love that distinction. The idea is that a child arrives with their own curiosities. Your job isn't to say, no, don't like that, like this more impressive thing instead.
It's just to help them deepen what's already there.
Preserve that interest. Because if you force a kid or yourself to practice something you don't genuinely like, the 10,000 hours we're about to talk about just become a prison sentence.
Right. It's torture. Real excellence has to be built on a love of the game, not for status.
If that intrinsic like isn't there, the discipline will never hold.
All right, so let's assume we found the thing we like. Now we have to get good at it. And the text brings in the big guy, Aristotle.
Men become builders by building.
This gets into what they call the action identity loop, which is so important. We often think we need to feel a certain way before we can act.
Right. I need to feel confident before I step on the field. Or courageous, or whatever it is. We wait for inspiration.
But Aristotle, in this text, argue it's the complete opposite. You don't wait for the feeling. You become courageous by doing courageous things. You become a builder by building.
There's a quote in there from a guy named Jerry Sternin that just jumps off the page. He says, "It is easier to act your way into a new way of thinking than to think your way into a new way of acting."
That is a huge aha
A
moment.
total game changer. We spend all this energy trying to think our way out of doubt, analyzing, hesitating. But doubt doesn't dissolve in your head. It dissolves in the doing.
The soccer player doesn't feel confident and then take the ball.
No. They take the ball 1,000 times, and confidence is the residue of that action.
And speaking of 1,000 times, we have to talk about the 10,000 hours rule. The text brings in Robert Greene on this. He calls it a mystical resonance.
Yeah, it's roughly 7 to 10 years of sustained practice. But he clarifies something that I think people miss. It's not just a grind. At a certain point, your brain actually changes.
A qualitative change.
Exactly. You've absorbed so much information that you stop thinking about the mechanics, where my fingers go, how I stand, and you start to play with the ideas. You become creative.
But, and this is a big but, isn't
Yeah.
it? The text is very clear that not all hours are created equal.
Critically important. You can't just clock in. Robert Greene writes, "Concentrated practice cannot fail, but produce results." The key word is concentrated.
So an hour of practice where you're checking your phone or daydreaming.
It's worthless. It might even be negative because you're practicing being distracted. A focused 20 minutes is worth so much more than an hour of just going through the motions.
So we're right back to presence. You have to be here for the practice to even count.
Precisely. If you are somewhere else while you're practicing, you're not building the skill. You're just passing time.
Now, even if we're trying our best to be present, there are things actively trying to stop us. The Force calls these the enemies of presence. And it tells this unbelievable story about the golfer Sam Snead.
This is a masterclass in psychological warfare. So Snead is in a tournament. He's young. He's playing great. He's in the zone.
And then, just before the final round, another golfer comes up to him.
And just drops this casual comment. He asks, "How do you expect to do well with that left elbow flying around like that?"
Ugh. It's so subtle and so vicious.
It's devastating. Snead goes out, shoots an 80, which is just terrible for him, and he loses the tournament.
Because all he could think about was his elbow.
That's it. The comment was a weapon. It was designed to shift his focus from the external goal, the ball, the hole, to his internal mechanics. He stopped playing golf and started playing a game inside his own head.
That inner theater took over.
That's the enemy right there, isn't it? That inner theater where we're critiquing ourselves in real time. But the text says Snead learned from this. His attitude later became, "Beat me with your clubs."
Beat me with your clubs. I love that.
In other words, I'm not going to help you beat me by getting in my own way. I refuse the invitation to the inner theater. I'm focusing on the game, not on myself.
The source then takes this idea and elevates it. It actually references John 10.10, describing the enemy, or Satan, as a thief.
It's a really powerful parallel. And whether you view that theologically or psychologically, the mechanism is the same. The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy.
What's it stealing?
Your focus, your momentum. It wants to rob you of the present moment. It wants you to worry about your elbow instead of hitting the ball.
So what's the defense if someone or some voice in your head is trying to intimidate you like that? How do you fight back?
The text says the defense is identity, knowing who you are. It quotes that scripture. Greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world.
So it's about grounding yourself in something bigger than the moment.
Right. It compares the intimidator to a toothless lion. It roars loudly, but it can only hurt you if you forget who you are. If your whole identity is riding on this next shot, you're fragile. If your identity is secure, the thief has nothing to steal.
That idea of identity and the voices in our heads, that leads perfectly into the next section on the role of other people.
Yes, because sometimes that voice in your head isn't your own. It's a teacher's or a parent's.
And the story of Eleanor Roosevelt in here it's just heartbreaking, but also so redemptive.
She had a really rough childhood. Her mother was very critical, told her she was plain untalented, and Eleanor internalized all of it. She became that ghost we talked about, haunted by this voice saying she wasn't enough.
Until she met a teacher.
A teacher named Marie Souvestre. And she didn't just teach curriculum, she saw Eleanor. She reflected a totally different vision back to her. She told her she had talent and ambition and worth.
She gave her permission to be here.
She did. It just shows the immense power a teacher has. The text quotes the book of James. Not many of you should become teachers, for you know that we who teach will be judged with greater strictness.
That weight is real.
Because you're not just transferring data, you are shaping an inner life. And that power can be used to liberate, like with Eleanor, or it can be used to diminish.
The source then contrasts two approaches to this. You've got Ralph Waldo Emerson, who says the secret of education is respecting the student.
And then, kind of a surprising pairing, you've got Walt Disney.
Right. What was his take?
Disney said, I would rather entertain and hope that people learn something than educate people and hope they were entertained.
Which sounds like he's just prioritizing fun, but I think it's deeper than that.
It's about engagement. He's saying engagement has to come before instruction. Wonder comes before knowledge. If a student is bored or checked out, they're not present, you can't teach them anything.
You have to capture their presence first.
That's what respect looks like in a classroom, meeting them where they are and inviting them in.
So we've covered presence in practice, in facing our enemies, and in teaching. I want to shift now to the long game. Sustainable happiness.
Right. Because the thrill of the 10,000 hours eventually fades, and you just have to live. There's a really cryptic quote from Sextus in the text.
Be free of passion, but full of love.
This one trips people up because we think passion and love are the same thing today. But the text is drawing a very specific distinction. Passion, in this sense, is self-regarding. It craves. It fears loss. It's that desperate, grasping feeling.
It's a form of suffering, really.
It is. Whereas love is other-regarding. It's steady, it sees, and it serves. The text calls love the mother quality of character.
Mother quality. That comes from Tudor Bompa, the sports scientist.
Yes, he was talking about athletes. He said strength is the mother quality for physical performance. If you aren't strong, your other skills don't matter because you'll just break down.
So love is the equivalent for our character.
Exactly. Without that steady, other-focused love, all your other skills and talents just make you a sophisticatedly selfish person. You might be good at things, but you won't be happy.
And that connects to how we find happiness. The source brings up Anna Lemke again on the difference between doing things alone versus with others.
This is her framework for addiction versus happiness. She suggests that pleasurable acts we do alone, in isolation, tend to be addictive and destructive.
Like doom scrolling.
Doom scrolling, substance abuse, even obsessive solo gaming, they spiral inward. They reinforce the ghost.
But pleasurable acts done with other people.
That's the path to happiness. We're designed for community. When we play or create or even struggle alongside others, it creates connection and meaning. It pulls us out of that inner theater and back onto the field.
Speaking of struggle, we can't talk about the long game without admitting that it's hard.
Yeah.
And usually it's not the big things that stop us.
No. Muhammad Ali had that great line, it isn't the mountains ahead to climb that wear you down, it's the pebble in your shoe.
It's the little things, the daily irritations, the lack of sleep, that negative comment.
Which is why the little by little philosophy is so important. The text quotes a Tanzanian proverb, Little by little, a little becomes a lot.
You don't have to conquer the mountain in one go.
You just have to deal with the pebble and then take the next step.
And how we take that step matters. The source ends this section with a definition of sportsmanship that I think applies to, well, everything. It's just 4 words.
Work hard, be kind.
It's so simple, but it's a whole ethical system, isn't it? Can you pursue excellence? Can you want to win without becoming cruel?
And can you lose without becoming bitter? That's the ultimate test of presence. Can you stay human in the heat of the battle?
Can you stay human in the heat of the battle? That is the challenge. Because when the pressure is on, the temptation is to check out or to lash out.
It is. But if you can do that, if you can know what you like, work hard at it, and remain kind, you've lived well. You've escaped the poverty of being somewhere else.
So let's bring this all home. We started with the student asking the master where to look for enlightenment. And the master said, here.
And in the end, the master gives the final instruction on how to look. He says, the ordinary way will do.
The ordinary way.
You don't need a mystical retreat. You don't need some secret technique. You just need to actually be here. Put in your concentrated hour of practice. Listen to your kid. Sleep. Exhale.
Enlightenment isn't somewhere else.
It never was. It's just about showing up for the life you actually have, little by little.
Before we sign off, I want to leave you with one final question from the source material. It comes from Dan John, and it's a confrontation. I really want you to sit with this.
It's a question that cuts through all the noise.
Look at your goals. Look at your behavior. Does your behavior match your goals?
And if the answer is no, remember, the ordinary way will do. Start now.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.